Shalom. Call Halimla Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And the sincere Shalom to the 144,000, 1/3. Now, right now, this is just a time of fishing. You understand? This is not a time to take physical action against anybody. Okay? Of course, if you need to defend yourself or your loved ones, then yeah, do so, right? Yeah, everybody has a right to defend themselves. But there is going to come a time as society gets worse, the cost of living keeps going up. The Most High Yahweh puts a spirit upon these people to become more animalistic, more lawless. Guess what? Things are going to be different. You're going to have a significant increase of home invasions. All right? You're going to have armed robbery dramatically increase. You're going to have SAs, right? Sexual assault increases. Just stereotypical old-fashioned crime that humanity is not new to is just going to increase to dramatic levels. And during those times, all right, you're going to have the elect rise to the occasion. It's going to go from fishers to hunters. You understand? Let's get this in 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter. And 2 Timothy, 3rd chapter, and verse 10. But thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, charity, patience, persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch, and at Iconium, at Lastria, what persecutions I endured, but out of them all the Lord delivered me. So guess what? The same thing applies to the hopeful elect now. That Apostle Paul went through, Timothy, Peter, so on and so forth. All right? Verse 13, here's the main point. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. And you see that with social media. You see these bug out jakes. They think they're deep because they listen to what's that dude's name? Bobby Hermit. They listen to Bobby Hermit and they do witchcraft and voodoo. And they get some low-level left-hand spiritual power and they think they're on a level. It's just one Jake completely bugged out. He was a warlock. And he makes little left-hand tools and machines. And he does wizardry and, left hand. And he's against the Israelites. Bugged out. And he looked wicked as all hell. And guess what? All those people, just like you got the truth, the right hand. When you see Jake's channels get 10 views, 100 views, 1,000 views, and they're learning, they're studying, they're accepting the gospel, you have the opposite of that. You got these witches, these warlocks. And this is just Jake. Not even what these devils have done through the news outlets, through social media, right? Their programming. That's on the utmost level. You got Jake on this low level getting 100 views, and these other Jakes, especially these women, they copy, they're mimicking. All right, that's the deceived and being deceived, and it's only going to get worse from here on out. It's only going to get worse. This is Jeremiah 16:16. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith Yahweh, and they shall fish them. So that's the fishing is, pushing the gospel, making the videos, hitting the street corners, pushing the gospel. Whoever hears it and accepts it, or they hear it and they don't accept it, right? That's the fishers. Or that's the ones that's being fished. The prophets will be the fishers. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. And also, the fishing, you got to tell the judgment of the nations too. It's not just Jake. Esau got to hear his judgment. Okay, Elam has to hear his judgment. Moab has to hear his judgment. Ishmael has to hear his judgment. Right? So, it's the gospel as a whole. Not just exclusively for the Israelites to hear it. You know, these other nations got to hear got to get fished too. And guess what? They're going to get hunted too. You know? The Most High Yahweh is going to put some high level spiritual power upon certain men to do things that aren't necessarily being done now or being done on a high level now. You know, Jake gonna be out here bulletproof, right? Jake gonna be able to fly, be able to read minds, you know, control the elements. Things you see in these movies. People think that science fiction is not real. You know, there's people out here that can do certain things like that. You know, just randomly just can do it. That's real. Like psychics and pyrokinetics, and yeah, that stuff is actually real. You know, and they don't necessarily know the truth. You know, they can just be random people that don't. They may not even be Israelites, right? And they can do certain things like that. Okay, why is it like that? The Most High Yahweh just set it up like that. But guess what? The elect is going to get turned up higher than anybody else that's not a part of the elect. You know? And Esau's been sharpening his sword. Right? He's been like, what's that dude's name? That small hat looking dude that talked about the Black Awakening, where he said these devils have figured out how to take the left hand spiritual power and like concentrate it and put it into somebody, a supercharger, like Captain America with the super soldier serum. And they're like super high level wizards and all that. Yeah, that stuff is real. You know, how do we know this stuff is real? Because Pharaoh had his sorcerers and they had left hand spiritual power. And the Edomites are the ultimate left-hand sorcerers, okay? Because they've been given all power under Satan. This is Isaiah 59:19. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood. So these Edomites, eventually something's going to happen. And they're going to swarm, right? They're going to send a very large volume of military force suddenly, right? They're just going to, it's going to be something's going to go down, and they're going to deploy super soldiers, attack helicopters, drones, and, you know, they're just going to just flood like Miami. Something could go down, the Jakes, the elect in Miami, some may go down. They may heal somebody, right? They may heal a brother, right? Or maybe Esau's police force does something. Who knows, right? And then Esau, he got cameras and he sees it. He could tell that, oh, Jake's been activated, right? Jake bulletproof now, or whatever. And guess what he does? He's going to send his super soldiers that are also bulletproof, right? And it's going to be a war in Miami. And then the elect is going to win. And the Esau is just going to keep sending more and more and more. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh, all right, just like with Samson, right? The spirit of Yahweh came upon Samson, and he started radiating energy, like fiery energy, that was melting things around him, right? the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. So Esau's not going to run through Jake again. You know, Esau is about to get ran through. These lower level Edomites, these upper level Edomites, they're all going to be taken out. They're all going to be ran through. And with that, shalom.